Viewers to At Ease No Media, where we discuss media related topics at ease. So, today we are going to start a new series where we will be discussing about the Unit 1 of Mass Communication. That is, this particular unit can be divided into 8 broad chapters. To be specific, it can be divided into 9 broad chapters. All right. So, one by one, we will be completing the chapters as we have completed the whole research unit in the last few days, in the last 18-19 days, and we have also discussed the PYQs. So, from today onwards, we will be studying Unit 1 Introduction to Mass Communication and Journalism. And in this very first lecture, first of all, we will be talking about the different groups, the different parts of the unit Introduction to Mass Communication and Journalism. To put it simple, we can say that this particular unit, the first part of this particular unit is the Introduction to Mass Communication. In this unit, we will be studying about the intro part, the stages of mass communication, the process of mass communication, the elements of mass communication, moving on with the 7 C's of mass communication. Then we will be talking about the functions of mass communication as well as the types of mass communication. After that, we will be studying about the forms of mass communication, the Buddhism communication, mass communication characteristics, the credibility, the functions of mass communication. Finally, in this particular chapter, we will be studying about Johari window. Now, in the second chapter, we will be discussing about journalism, the intro of journalism, the ABC of journalism, the types of journalism, the core principles of journalism, the world history of journalism. Finally, we will be talking about different chronologies like the history. In the third chapter, we will be focusing on the models of mass communication. In the intro part, we will be understanding the types and models of mass communication, linear model, non-linear model. Then we will be talking about different models, like in the different aspects of linear model, different aspects of non-linear model. And in the last part of chapter 3, the models of communication, we will be talking about two-way communication model. After completing model in chapter 4, we will be discussing about theories. Then we will be talking about in details the normative theory. Normative theory can be divided into the introduction part, the meaning of normative theory, the 4 theories of praise. Then we will be having a brief introduction about William Hitchens, Dennis Maxwell, Paolo Minci. And after completing this part, we will be having a brief discussion on the 6th chapter, that is the critical theory. We will be having a discussion on the Frankfurt School part. So the critical theory chapter 6 can be divided into 11 points. That means the mass society. We will be having a discussion on mass society, the mass society theory, Frankfurt School itself, the prominent figures of Frankfurt School, then dissemination to analyze. Then we will be having a brief discussion of Herbert Marcuse. Then we will be having a discussion on cultural industry, Jürgen Habermas, Antonio Gramsci, Manuel Cassel, and we will be talking about a certain key text as well. After completing this 6th chapter, we will be moving to cultural studies. In cultural studies, we will be learning about the introduction, Richard Hoggart, Edward Taylor, and various perspectives of cultural studies. Then we will be having a brief discussion on the 3 functions of society. Then we will be talking about Stuart Hall, the circuit of culture, the reception theory, the theory of representation, the cultural industry as well. Then finally, we will be having a brief introduction on John Fiske. In chapter 8, we will be studying about the semiotic theory, the intro of semiotic theory, Saussure's theory, C.S. Pierce's theory, C.H. Cooley's theory, Ronald Barthes' theory, Umberto Eco's theory, Levi structure concept of sign. Then we will be having a brief discussion on Jacques Derrida. After that, the most important part of this unit is the Asian communication theory. From this perspective, we are having a few questions in the recent past. So this was the main bifurcation of Unit 1, Introduction to Mass Communication and Journalism, where we will be studying 9 topics. So first thing first, let's start with the first chapter's first perspective, first thing, that is communication. Introduction to communication. What is communication? Communication came from the Latin word communis, which means common. Transforming information from one place, person, or group to another is known as communication. The process of communication is simple. It is sender, message, channel, receiver, as well as feedback. So this is not a detailed explanatory class. I am just showing my notes which is based on previous year questions. This questions is being asked in NTA UGC NET as well as in West Bengal set. Moving on, the brief definition of communication, we can say that communication is a Latin verb, and communication, the moment we are talking about Latin verb, then we must consider about communicare. If we say from where communication derived, then we can say communication derived from Latin verb, it's communicare, which means to share, to make common, and Latin word which means communis. Human communication is also known as anthroposemiotics. Human communication is also known as anthroposemiotics. Actually, it is the field of study dedicated to understand how humans communicate. Human ability to communicate with one another is known as anthroposemiotics. Then we have human ability to communicate with one another would not be possible without understanding of what we are referencing or thinking about. Second part, we have the stages of human communication, how human communication evolved. The stages of human communication is age of sign and symbol. First communication came in the age of sign and symbol. Then came the age of speech and language, the age of writing, the age of print, the age of mass communication. After that, we have the age of information revolution, that is AI, artificial intelligence. Now we have the third part, which is the process of communication. If we consider the process of communication, we know that an idea arises in the mind of a sender, how communication works. Communication is an idea which arises in the mind of sender which he wants to share. The sender encodes the idea in the form of message, and the sender chooses some medium or channel to put across the message. Then the receiver decodes. The receiver receives the message and tries to understand, interpret the message. After that, we have the receiver sending the feedback. Now, the fourth stage, what we will be discussing is the element of communication process. We know that communication process can be divided into 9 parts. How communication process works. So as you guys can see, first step is the sender or the communicator. Next comes the message. Then comes the encoding part, the medium or the channel part. Now this medium or channel, this is very important from examination point of view. The medium or channel can be divided into 5 senses. Tactile or haptic means touch or taste. Olfactory means smell. Audio communication means the communication with the sound waves. Visual communication means oculus or eye movement. After that, we have decoding part, the receiver, the feedback, the barrier or the noise, and the effect. So the effect can be divided into 3 parts: cognitive, affective, and behavioral. Cognition, in cognitive we know communication which increases our knowledge. Affective means it's taking the example of emotions, and behavioral means change the receiver's behavior. So to put it simple, the elements of communication process are the sender of the communicator, the message, encoding, the medium or the channel, the decoder, the receiver, the feedback, the barrier of the noise, and the effect. And the medium of the channel is tactile, haptic. Tactile is also known as haptic, which is touch or taste. Olfactory communication means smell. Audio communication means sound wave. Visual communication means oculus or eye movement. And this particular effect is cognitive, affective, and behavioral. Now moving on, we have 7 C's of communication. Very important: clear, correct, complete, concise, concrete, considerate, courteous. These 7 C's, direct questions are asked from this particular 7 C's of communication. Now, Professor Scott M. Culpit and Helen H. Center in 1952 stated, they are from peer practitioners. Okay, so these 7 C's of communication are clear, correct, complete, concise, concrete, considerate, courteous. I repeat: clear, correct, complete. Clear, correct, complete. Concise, concrete, considerate, courteous. Next we have functions of communication. How communication functions. It's a education. For education purpose, we communicate. For that means we are also now communicating. I'm communicating via online media with you people. So I'm recording this video, I'm going live, and I'm sharing my class notes with you all. So functions of communication, and you are getting this particular academic content. So this is for education purpose. So content can be divided into many parts. The basic functions of communication is to educate, is to inform, is to state the cultural promotion. That means doing cultural. Our culture is doing namaste. Western culture is something different. Now via with the help of communication with the help of channel. It can be tactile, it can be olfactory, it can be audio, it can be video. But the function of communication is to educate, to inform, to promote culture, to stimulate, the stimulation part which is being done by the advertisers, to counsel. By doing counseling, we reduce other person's anxiety. We use communication for social contact as well, to build friendship, clubs and all. Integration means relationship build up. We use communication to build up a relationship. We use communication for entertainment also. We use communication for functions also. Alright, so control functions. Sometimes we try to manipulate, sometimes we try to indicate our message to someone else, right? So this is being done. Now moving on to the next part of communication is the types of communication. This particular page is very, very important. You guys can, this page is very, very important. You guys can take a screenshot, because from this page maximum questions are being asked. You can expect one question from this page. Now, forms of communication. Communication can be divided into 2 parts. One is verbal and one is non-verbal. Verbal means in such a communication where words are involved, and in non-verbal, words are not involved. Now, verbal communication not only means that it is spoken words. Verbal communication means it can be written communication, is also verbal communication. And all non-verbal communication means non-words, communicating without using words. In verbal communication, communicating with words, that goes verbal. And in non-verbal communication, it's a moral code. We don't use words. This is the basic difference between verbal and non-verbal. This concept is very much important from NTA, UGC NET, SET and any media exams. Alright. So the moment we are talking about verbal, we know we are talking about words. And the moment we are talking about words, it can be oral or written. And the moment we are talking about non-verbal communication, it means non-linguistic. Kinesis, that means body language. Haptic, that means touch. Touch is also a communication. Proximus, that means space distance. IPSP, you remember IPSP, intimate space, personal space, social space, then public space. If we are talking in 45 centimeter, just 45 centimeter or 1.5 foot distance, then it is intimate space. Then we have 4 feet distance or 1 to 2 meter distance. That means we have personal space. If it's 12 feet, it's a social space. If it's more than 25 feet, it's public sphere or public space. Now, non-verbal communication, another part of non-verbal communication is chromatics. That means language of time. If someone comes early, if someone is very lazy, we know they will be coming very late, then it's chromatics. Then we have sign language, that means the language of symbols. Then we have chromatic, that is language of color, red, green, yellow. Then we have para language, that means pitch, tone, volume, tempo, rhythm, etc. Now we have the next part, that is the forms or the types of communication. Communication, the types of communication is foundation stone to any form of communication. Intrapersonal communication or transpersonal communication. In intrapersonal communication or transpersonal communication, we can say that we are communicating. Transpersonal communication means communicating with the ghost. Interpersonal communication means communicating with others. Intra means communicating with oneself, or intercommunication, that means communicating with other. Metaphysical or spiritual communication is there. There is interpersonal communication, which is known as dyadic communication. Two persons are involved. There is feedback sharing between source and receiver. Then we have 3 stages. We have fatigue stage, we have personal stage, we have intimate stage. So now this interpersonal communication can be divided into fatigue stage means the initial stage, the ice breaking part. The personal stage means it's from the next part. Now you can say IPSP, the same is IPSP, same as this one. Now next we are going to discuss about the Buddhism. Buddhism talks about 4 social emotions of interpersonal communication. One is metta, one is karuna, one is mudrita, one is upekha. What is metta? What is karuna? What is mudrita? What is upekha? Metta means loving kindness. Karuna means compassion. Mudrita means sympathetic joy. Upekha means equanimity, deeply understanding something. Group communication, if we talk about group communication, we have 3 or more people communicating. If we talk about public communication, we have large group, one way monopoly style. Example, minimal feedback. Information sharing, entertainment and persuasion one are common purposes of public communication. Then we have mass communication. Mass line communication, that means with the masses we can communicate. It's a famous communication given first by Mao Zedong in China. So this was it with today's rapid revision class. Tomorrow we will be starting mass communication. Thank you for connecting at Ease No Media, where we discuss media related topics at ease.